In this video, we're going to talk about the universe card, which is the last card of the major arcana in the Book of Thoth. Of course, the universe card is known as the world card in the Rider-Waite deck and other ones as well. So we're going to do the same thing as we did with the Fool card. We're going to go through the verse, the mnemonic, and the divinatory meaning, and then go on to Crowley's description. But we are going to start with the verse of the Fool, because the universe and the Fool card, because they're the first and last cards of the major arcana, they join up. Okay. And there's a really interesting thing in the verse of the Fool card, which provides this link. It's not obvious, but we'll try and explain as we go along. So here is the verse, first Naught of the Fool card, and it goes, "No Naught, all ways are lawful to innocence. Pure folly is the key to initiation. Silence breaks into rapture. Be neither man nor woman, but both in one. Be silent, babe, in the egg of blue, that thou mayest grow to bear the lance and grail. Wander alone and sing. In the king's palace, his daughter awaits thee." So we discussed this verse, didn't we? And when we talked about the Fool card previously. And the last half of the second half of the last line, in the king's palace, his daughter awaits thee. So who is the daughter and where is the king? And where is the palace? Okay. So the palace is actually one of the 7 palaces, or Hecalot, which resides kind of Yesod and Malkut in that area. It's a very powerful kind of area of knowledge that's not well known. And we've done a few videos on this, haven't we, Bart, over the last year or so. So it shouldn't be virgin territory for you, virgin, the Fool. See what I did there? And so the daughter, and there is the other clue. The palace tells us is in Yesod or Malkut, and daughter is, of course, the final Hey of Yod Hey Vav Hey, which puts us into the area of Malkut as well. So if you didn't know, you should do. The king, he's probably going to be, well, I think of Tipris for some reason when I think of the king here, even though as the king's the knight, you probably, he's doing, I think he must be Tipris, isn't it? He's talking about the 6th Sephira.
Yeah, I would.
Because otherwise he'd talk about the knights, and he's not. So it's probably in this thing. So, and of course, we see the daughter on the major card as well, don't we? She is that figure, you see. So this is how Crowley, I mean, basically the verse of the Fool card is really the formula of the Tetragrammaton, which we discussed many times. You have 3 cards, and these 3 cards join the 4th position, which is outside of the system. And that 4th card is the Hecalot, is the Empress, the daughter, not the Empress. And she is also Malkut, and a sire as well, the final Hey of Yod Hey Vav Hey. So, sorry, Bart. Yes, you got something to say there.
Yeah, you could say now when you read this thing of the Fool, you see one half of the story.
Yeah. And Crowley does this a lot with his writings. He's often referring to somewhere else, not just the card. Okay, and it's important to understand that. So when you're looking at it, it's like peripheral vision. You know, it's a lot of tarots have tunnel vision. They only see the card in front of them. But with Crowley, it's always about the bigger picture that's going on. So let's go to the universe card. Where is he? That one. Yes. So so we've got the mnemonic and the verse and the meaning in all of this. Have you got them there, Bart, for the universe card?
Oh, yes. Treat time and all conditions of events as servants of thy will, appointed to present the universe to thee in the form of thy plan, and blessing and worship to the prophet of the lovely star.
Wow. So this is the verse. Okay, that goes with the universe card. And so time is a function of Saturn, because Saturn relates to this card as well. So we haven't really discussed this yet, but there's Saturn, and Tau is the planet and the letter, the Hebrew alphabet, that are associated with this. Saturn is a card of time. As servants of thy will. So this is really, I think we're actually kind of almost reading this in the wrong order, aren't we, I think, in this case. Because if we look at the meaning of the card, then we'll come back to verse in a minute, because I think that the meaning probably the verse explains the meaning, if you like. So the meaning of the divinity meaning of the universe card is the matter of the question itself, synthesis, the end of the matter may mean delay, opposition, obstinacy, inertia, patience, perseverance, persistent stubbornness in difficulty. That's all one sentence. And the crystallization of the whole matter involved. So what he's saying is basically that the universe card doesn't have a meaning except for the cards around it, which gives you the context of what it's describing. So that the matter at hand can also mean whatever question your client has. You look to see where the universe card is, and the cards around it, what it counts onto, and what counts can't count onto it, is to see exactly what's going on. And the universe does kind of mean the end of the matter as well. It's the completion of something too. In my experience, it often means going broad. Yes, Bart?
The 10 of discs, or the princes of discs?
Yes.
The crystallization of the whole matter involved is like the ultimate manifestation. Yes,
because the Princess of Discs and the Ten of Discs are also the final cards in their respective groups as well. You see. So that's kind of really what, and the crystallization of the whole matter involved. So the crystallization is like a manifestation. It's bringing this about. It's kind of making it solid. Material, if you like. So, and the verse kind of really describes a more philosophical view of the meaning card, because it says treat time and all conditions of event. Well, we talked about time is in there, the matter itself, patience, perseverance, crystallization of the matter, and delay and opposition. All of these ones represent a kind of an element of time that's involved in all this. It's taking time to happen, or something like this. As servants of thy will, I mean, that's the will is a loaded term in Thelema, isn't it? So he's bringing that into the whole sort of equation as well.
Yeah, that's the tricky one, eh?
Very tricky.
Thy will is not thy wish, necessarily, eh?
No, well, and thy will could be the will of your higher holy guardian angel, of high genius, or other kind of phrase that you'd want to put in there. And then it says appointed to present the universe. So but you can kind of read that as appointed to present as well. You can say present or present. Present is now. Present is to sort of display the thing. The universe to thee, which is a difference to thy, okay, in the form of thy plan. So this would be, again, a suggestion that this card is presenting the unfolding of the plan of your high genius or holy guardian angel in the great work, which is part of the Ten of Discs, isn't it, and the Princess of Discs as well. So this is the manifestation, the completion of the cycle. And then he says, and blessing and worship to the prophet of the lovely star. The lovely star is the star card. Yes?
Yes. Well, when I hear of the lovely star, I can't help thinking straight away, Babylon.
This is kind of a clue also, because there's that great conundrum in the cards of the star and the emperor and all those sort of things. The thing is here is that the star is Aquarius, and Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn as well. So this is more of an inspirational thing that's going here.
Oh, yeah,
well.
it's true.
And the prophet of the lovely star, the prophet of the star probably is Aleister Crowley himself here.
No.
It's being a little bit self-obsessed.
Yeah, he's too modest for that. He wouldn't.
Yes. So we're kind of jumping around a little bit on this one, because it's kind of like a trinity of an aspect of things that are going on here. And so then we come to the mnemonic, which is probably the first thing we should have done, because the mnemonic says, naught becomes all to realize the span of naught, O perfect universe of Pan.
Ah. Oh, sorry, I see Pan.
You do.
You know? Pan, on which card do we see Pan?
The Fool card.
Exactly, the snake.
And the Devil card too, because the Devil card is Capricorn, ruled
Yes.
by Saturn. But
Yes.
Pan gets a mention in the Fool card because of, you know, Crowley is punning here a lot. So he says naught becomes all, so nothing and everything. That's a polarity, a duality that's going on here. And of course, all is a double L, which in grammatical terms is 61, and 61 is the number of nothingness, and ein, which is the letter associated with 0 and naught, and the Devil card.
I have a thought about that. Now, the Fool card number 0, normally is the path from Kether to Shokmai.
Mm-hmm.
But being the Fool card, it also represents the 3 veils of nothingness.
Yes.
So it actually shows 2 different places on the tree of life. The Fool path and the 3 veils of nothingness.
Yes.
So the universe is that final triad at the bottom.
Yes.
And does it also represent the 3 veils of nothingness then?
Well, it does, because you have the 3 zeros there. Naught is 0. And then you have of, which is 0 again, and O, which is 0 too. All is really 4 zeros actually, because all is nothing as well. You see, so you can cut that whichever way you want to. But this interesting thing, it says to realize the span of naught. So I mean, naught becomes all. That's nothing and everything. And realizing the span of naught is
and naught is ein.
Yes, ein, yes, which is the Devil card, and the Devil card is to do with Pan. Pan appears in the Fool card. Sorry, yes, it's the N of 4. Yes, it's all of those things that are there. So, oh, perfect universe of Pan. It's almost tautologous here at this point, because the universe is Pan, which is Pan means all. We've had all in there as well, and the universe of Pan. Pan also appears in the Fool card. We didn't really discuss it. It has its own little paragraph in the text of the Fool.
And if you look at the history of the universe card, because the Thoth Tarot universe card is based on, it shows great resemblance with the Marseille one, which is much older, and that card is based upon a pagan depiction of something called the birth of Phanes.
Farnes, F-P-H-A-N-E-S.
Yes, Phanes.
Farnes.
Who is also, let me say, it's not Pan, but he's very similar to him. So you could say that the universe is a symbolic representation of something called the birth of Pan,
Right.
which is also the Fool card.
Yes. So we're back to birth again.
Yeah.
So we've, this is the entirety of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet we're talking about here. So there's everything included in the statement. This is why there's the clue in the verse of the Fool card as well, you see. So, we're talking big things here. Big things. They're not small things
Everything.
at all. Everything.
Everything.
The kitchen sink is in all of this. So, I mean, the whole thing of, from nothing to everything. And it's a kind, because it's already done deal, isn't it? Nothing to everything is there. So the meaning is, well, it'll happen. It may not happen right this second, but it will happen. There's a certainty that it's going to take, whatever delays it takes, it will still happen.
Yeah, I think, because when you look at the divinity meanings where they are all about the obstinacy and stubbornness, and that's the
It's like a juggernaut. It just keeps on moving, or it's just going to push all its way through.
Nature.
Yeah, it's a force of nature. So there we are. That's a kind of a picture of what you can get from just the meaning, the mnemonic, and the verse for the major arcana here for the universe card. So let's move on to the Tau is the letter of the universe card, and the Tau actually means a cross. So we have this, and the Tau is 400, and it's also forward, so we have the cross as well. So you have the 4 quarters that are involved in all of this, and Crowley talks about it, the quadrature of the circle that's involved in all this.
And what is it? Aleph is ox, which is an O and a cross.
You can do that as well, but it doesn't work in Venus like that, in Hebrew like that, but it does in English.
But it doesn't have to work in Hebrew if it works in English.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is so we've kind of projected solidity here as kind of from nothing to everything, but it's not so simple, because 400 is 20 times 20, and 20 is the letter of the fortune card. Okay, Kaf. That's the wheel of fortune. So the universe is the sphere of fortune. So it's constantly spinning. And we have this kind of thing with the position of Malkuth as well. It's, you can see that at the Minutum Mundum, it's like an X with the 4 colors of the elements in there in the Earth position. But this is actually spinning. Okay, it's not solid. Okay, and 4 is also the total number of the 10 Sephirots, with each containing 10 Sephirots in there as well. And 210 is also involved in all this, which is part of Ensoul 4 as well. So, and also, this is also the pattern of the 4 levels of creation: Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asaya. So you've kind of got this whole 4 thing going on at lots of levels. And of course, there's book 4, which is the number of magic as well. So it's a very powerful number. It's also Yod He, Vav He, and all of this as well. So it's everything.
It's the 4 cherubs.
The 4 cherubs as well, because they represent the 4 elements too. So this is a really powerful sort of card that has everything in it. So we're coming on to the actual card itself. We finally got there. It's only taken 20 minutes, half an hour. So we have to remember that this is Crowley's analysis of the letter Tau that he starts with here. And what he says is the first and most obvious characteristic of this card is that it comes at the end of all and is therefore the complement of the Fool, which you've already established. The end of all, that word there, all, everything, but also we know it means 61, which means ein, which means nothing. So there we have, that's the teaching there in itself. Everything and nothing going on at the same time. It is attributed to the letter tau. So then he puts the Fool with the universe card and says the two cards together accordingly spell the word art, which means essence. So it's a purity. It's the ipsity is of the whole kind of thing that's going on there. And then he says all reality. So again, this word all reality, everything, but also there's a nothing reality that's going on in there at the same time too. All reality is consequently compromised in the series of which these two letters form the beginning and the end. All reality is consequently compromised in the series of which these two letters form the beginning and the end. Is he saying that because Aleph Tau is the essence, anything else is an extraneous or something that brings imperfection into the whole system?
Yeah, you would think.
Because essence is something that's been boiled down, isn't it? You take out the impurities, and that's what you're left with. You see. So if there's any words with Aleph and Tau at the ends, the bit in the middle you throw out.
Yeah, our existence is a nasty side effect of the ultimate manifestation.
Yes, yeah. Thoughts are a stain, aren't they? You know, all these kind of things and stuff. So this is interesting because that puts Aleph and Tau on an equal level. They're not at that thing. They're neither nothing and they're neither everything either.
Well, normally the Fool you would consider being nothing. So I always thought as the Magus being the first point in that history.
Well, the Fool is the first point, isn't it?
No, the Fool is the great nothingness.
Okay. Yeah, it's the space, isn't it? And then the point.
Yeah.
So yeah, but this is going to the other extent, isn't it? It's not the point, it's everything.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's quite a deep philosophical thing that's going on there, isn't there, anyway?
Well, you know what they say about Catherine Malkut and the princes and the...
Yeah, it all gets a bit... So he elaborates and says, the beginning was nothing. The end must therefore be also nothing.
Paul, you know how you sound now? Always look on the bright side of life, Monty Python. You start off with nothing, you end up with nothing. What you lost? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. It's C6 Steve does a song on that, doesn't it? I started out with nothing, and that nothing is all I've got. You know, it's we come into the world naked and we die, and we take nothing with us.
So we lose nothing.
Yes. So what is the point? Yes.
The Magus.
Okay. Right. Well, let's see if I can actually finish this sentence.
I'm really sorry.
Right. The beginning was nothing. The end must therefore be also nothing. But nothing in its complete expansion, as previously explained. When he says as previously explained, he's talking about Ein Sof and Ein Sof Or, which is above the supernal triangle. And also the Fool is also above the supernal triangle, which actually, with the equivalence of the Fool and the universe card, means the universe is also above there too. Because it couldn't be equivalent otherwise, could it? That's the logic. And you'll notice there, he has nothing, nothing, nothing. If you didn't know that he's talking about the Ensof and Ensof Or, those three nothings there tell you that's exactly what it is. So remember, this is the universe card we're talking about, the final card. And it's all, so far, it's all been about nothing. Nothing to it. You have any thoughts, Bart, so far?
Yeah, I remember I saw this cartoon about two monks sitting there meditating. Says one monk to the other, "What do you feel?" And he looks disappointed. He says, "I feel nothing," says the monk. "Me too. Great, isn't it?" The power of nothing.
The sound of nothing, people laughing in the ether.
But what is meditating? You tried to empty your head. You tried.
Well, that's the Buddhist way, isn't it? That's the Buddhist way.
Well, that's what
Shunyavada is the nothingness.
I try to calm down every single voice in my head when I meditate.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Getting back to this, we'll have to do one on. We'll have to do one on Bart's meditations at some point as well. That could be a whole new chapter of things there.
I think you could be more. I think you could teach us a lot more about meditation than I could ever.
Let's concentrate on this.
That's a good idea, actually, Paul.
Right, so write it down. So meditation with Paul.
Meditation with Paul. It sounds a smashing idea. I'd be up for it straight away.
Good. I'm glad. So then he jumps into. It's almost. I don't know. It's nothing is three, and then he says the number 4, rather than the number 2, was chosen as the basis of this expansion. What are you going to say, Bart?
I agree with you. When you read it, he barges in about that number 4, and you got no clue where it's coming from.
I think it's because of the nothing, and of course that is the lesson of the Tetragrammaton, isn't it? You have the 3, and the 4th one comes in.
Yeah, nothing, and the number 4 rather than the 2. Yeah, but because I thought when he started about 4 a bit later,
see, the number 2 can't be expansion because we've already discussed that the fall and the universe are equal, and they're 2. You see?
Yes.
So he says, partly no doubt for convenience, to enlarge, in quotes, the universe of discourse, partly to emphasize the idea of limitation. He talks a lot about the 4 as limitation in the Book of Thoth in other places, particularly with the 4s, actually. So he has that other idea. Because of expansion, you need something pushing against it to constrict it in order to manifest things, because otherwise it just explodes everywhere and there's nothing left. So there we are. So then you can maybe in the next paragraph, because now he again talks about the number 4, but in a different way, because he says the letter tau means the sign of the cross, that is of extension. And this extension is symbolized as 4-fold because of the convenience of constructing the revolving symbol of tetragram. He's using very long sentences in this one. So 4-fold is Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. And if you actually expand Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, you get the tetractys. So you have 1, then 2, and then 3 in a line, and then the 4th one. You add them all together, you get 10. So this is another way of talking about that, even though he's talking about the cross now.
I think when the revolving symbol of Tetragrammaton, I think he was he meant something that was a subject that was quite delicate at the time when he wrote the book.
Was it?
I think that makes me think it's the swastika.
Oh,
In the Indian way.
you're right. Yes, it could well be.
Yeah, but
Yes.
in the Indian way, and I can imagine that this was a bit
Yes,
delicate.
the
at
swastika.
that
Yes,
moment.
yes, because that is the symbol of Aleph in the fall in Liber 231. It appears as the swastika, which is a revolving symbol. It's a symbol of the sun, actually, as well. But it's also revolving around the heavens, the four quarters, where you have the aces and the princesses as well, which also gives us the totality of things. Yes, that's a very subtle way of putting things, isn't it? That's interesting. Well done, that man, Bart. Well done. So then he says, then back to the number 2 again. In the case of the number 2, the only issue is the return to the unity or to the negative. You're kind of into naught equals 2 territory here as well, I think, as well. You see. So you've expanded and then you've just fallen back on yourself, basically. He says, no continuous process can be conveniently symbolized, but the number 4 lends itself not only to this rigid extension, the hard facts of nature, but also to this transcendence of space and time by a continuously self-compensating change. I think that's a longer sentence. So space and time, he's talking about Einstein, space-time continuing there. He's brought that into it, which makes it on a universal scale, doesn't it? Self-compensating change. It's a self-awareness thing that's going on. It's going back on itself, and I forget the phrase for it, but there's this self-regulating thing that goes on with these things too, isn't there?
It makes me think of balance.
Yeah. Because otherwise, again, you see, it's not a complete sort of expansion. It is something that's it's like a balloon. The balloon needs to be pushing against it in order to fill out.
Number 4 lends itself to the transcendence of space and time by a continuously self-compensating change.
And transcendence of space and time is interesting because space and time, by definition, is everything, and that's going beyond, which takes us kind of back to nothing, doesn't it?
Well, but they say the astral domain is beyond space and time.
That could work because basically in the Safa Yatra, we only have 3 elements: air, fire, and water. There isn't a spirit and there isn't an earth. So this would actually cover those things. And actually the next paragraph does talk about the Safa Yatra and the 3 elements, which are the 3 mother letters. So he says, the letter Tau is attributed to Saturn, the outermost and slowest of the 7 sacred planets. Because of these dull, heavy qualities, the element of earth was thrust upon the symbol. So, but also we've established that earlier that earth is a spinning thing, and it's kind of ephemeral. It's not the solid thing. And of course, that's what physics tells us about everything, our reality. It's just vibrations and spinning of the elements, and it's 99.99999% space with a little bit of matter in there as well.
And even matter is just tiny little particles with space in between them.
Yeah. Another duality. And then he says the original 3 elements, fire, air, water, sufficed for primitive thought. Earth and spirit represent a later accretion. Neither is to be found in the original 22 paths of the Safa Yatra. The world of Asaya, the material world, does not appear except as a pendant to the tree of life, which is what we've been discussing when we do 3 cards. This is 4th position. And so the final hay, which is also the princess and Malkut. So it exists and it doesn't exist, which is very much this kind of Buddhist and Hindu kinds of ideas of the eye blinking and the world disappearing and coming back again. So this is total dynamism. You say it's the heaviest thing, but actually it is total dynamism. So nothing here, you know, and in a way he is kind of describing the manifestation of everything as well, isn't he? That he describes in the divinatory meaning. This is an altogether different level of meaning than we find otherwise. So the next one, the next paragraph, he talks about spirit. And he says, in the same way, the element of spirit is attributed to the letter Shin as an additional ornament.
As an additional ornament. The way he says that sounds a bit, forgive me, but it sounds a bit sarcastic, like, almost.
This is an interesting thing because, you know, because to have the pentagram, you need earth, air, fire, and water and spirit, don't you? The 4 elements plus spirit. And so many systems do have them. But this is the paradoxical thing about this whole thing, is that in reality, there are only 3. And you're having to invent something in order to extrapolate and justify everything else that you're doing with the system. So in this sense, Saturn is space that's spinning, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's like a bicycle wheel. They just have the spokes; it's all air. But if you stick your finger in there, you'll lose it. You know, it's solid.
You know that show on TV, Wheel of Fortune?
Yes.
Well, you got a Wheel of Fortune, but you only got 4 things, or it's not just the 4 elements. I consider it like that. So what is Malkut? Malkut is just a combination of all the elements randomly chucked together.
And you know, the duality is the line, and all we've done is turn the line through 90 degrees to create the cross.
Excuse me, the 3 elements. I mean,
it's complicated, isn't it?
well, no, it's not. It's not. It's complicated. Yes, it is, and no, it isn't. It's not difficult to get your head around, I find. It is more difficult to. It makes you. It doesn't really fit. This is one of these situations where you have Kabbalah, you know, and then you have the Golden Dawn, and they don't really fit, and so they have to do a few.
Well, no, you know, the Golden Dawn extended the system, which is, you know, you have 31 bis, which is spirit, and 32 bis, which is the earth element. They are appended to the Cephi, to Liber 777. You know, but I mean, and there isn't that many things really that are in those rows either. In places where they do really show up is when you talk about the pentagram and the tables that involve the 4 elements plus spirit. Then you see it, and you're seeing it also for the court cards as well. But of course, in the traditional playing card decks, there's the king, queen, and knave. There was never the princess anyway. So he's always been an extra thing.
Or the page.
No,
because it's in the other tarot is the page, but
yes,
on the traditional card games it's disappeared.
And you know, an A8 describes the page as news. It's an abstract thing that comes in.
Hey, but every card game still has a joker.
Most card games.
When you buy a new card, when you open a card game, there's always a joker in there. That's the fool.
Yeah. And the joker can represent anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've made a post about that on the group one time. Not many reactions on it, but it is. If you know that our traditional card game is based upon, they have the same roots as the tarot. They must have similar. And then you notice that the only card of the major arcana that remains in the traditional card game is the Fool as the Joker.
And what is the group, Bart?
Thoth Tarot and Book of Thoth Tarot Study Group.
I'm going to have to change that because I can't remember the name of my own
I know,
group.
it's a long name.
You need to do something about that.
No, you just call it Paul Hughes-Barlow's Thoth Group.
Yeah, that's a little bit egotistical.
Well, listen, but you're selling yourself. You are a business.
Yeah, well, no, it's a public service.
Look how the Yanks do it. They are 10 times ready. Go, look at me, I'm the greatest. I mean, you're modest, you're European. You know, we don't.
Well, we don't have to say these things because it's self-evident. Anyway, so join our tarot groups. These are on Facebook. And, you know, if you like us, give us a thumb up and subscribe. And if you want a tarot reading as well, get in contact with me. We'll see what we can do. Now, the public service broadcasting now, you see.
Yeah, that's it. Wait, let me tell my philosophy. You are not the best because you tell it about yourself. You are the best if others say it about you.
Well, you are.
Oh, let me tell you, you are the best.
The check is in the post.
All right, we're talking about tarot, Paul.
Yeah.
Stay on topic.
I didn't even get halfway through that sentence before I was rudely interrupted. So let's have another go. Right, big breath. In the same way, the element of spirit is attributed to the letter Shin as an additional ornament. Somewhat in the same way as Kata is said to be symbolized by the topmost point of the Yod of Tetragrammaton. This is the deep kind of point here because the Yod of Tetragrammaton is Yod He Vav He. The Yod of Yod He Vav He is fire. So, and the point, Yod is the smallest letter. Okay, but the point of the smallest letter is Keta, which is where the fall is, because there's absolute, that would be absolute, and that's beyond absolute as well. So we're getting into kind of angels on a pinhead kind of territory here, basically.
The Hermit.
It is the Hermit as well, and of course the Yod is the Hermit card, and it relates to Virgo, which is the feminine card as well, and that's also about, you know, Virgo is the month of the harvest and everything.
Well, Virgo is mutable Earth, no? So it's
mutable Earth.
The lowest.
Not sure about the lowest, but it's mutable Earth.
Mutable Earth.
It's changeable. Mutable is changeable.
Well, you have cardinal, fixed, mutable.
Yes.
You know, the start is cardinal, the middle is fixed, the end is mutable, and she's mutable.
That's changing into something else. Well, it's not going down, it's changing into something else.
Yes, she's He, from Yod He Vav He.
Yes.
Yeah, we were on about Yod now. We're going from one side to the other.
Yes, so we're going right to the top again, aren't we?
Yes.
So this is almost this sentence. It's almost, he's put it in there to make the point about the point on the top of Yod. Rather than anything about the universe card, isn't it? So then he's almost like an apology, because the next sentence, which is another long one, it is constantly necessary to distinguish between the symbols of philosophical theory and those more elaborate symbols based upon them, which are necessary in practical work. And this is the thing, really. We're doing theory and practice. It's like magic in theory and practice. We're doing tarot in theory and practice at the same time. I think this is going to be a good point to stop here and do the rest of the universe in the next video.
Yes. So let me recapitulate on the last sentence. It is constantly necessary to distinguish between the symbols of philosophical theory and those more elaborate symbols based upon them, which, so like the universe card in philosophical theory, it's Saturn. And in the more elaborate symbol, it would be Earth.
Yes, but I think he's also talking about in a philosophical theory as the universe card being equivalent to the fall in a different way, and it's the nothing and the all. And then he's kind of bringing it down to the fact that nothing and everything is an abstract kind of concept, and the fact also is that the earth element isn't even though we're sitting on the earth. You know, I'm sitting in a chair that's solid and I'm not falling through it. You know, in physics terms, it's all air and emptiness anyway. And I'm full of wind too, anyway, before anyone else says it. So there's this whole sort of thing that's going on here. And it is fascinating that he starts off this discourse on the universe card in an entirely philosophical, abstract way, which is really talking about the full of zero going on to the three, Ensof and Ensof, or the three negative veils. And then he moves on to the distinction between the fourth one, which is the fourth position, the final hay, but also seeing it in terms of the cross as well. So he's covering all the bases. It's a recapitulation of the full card, except we never got that far with the full card. We thought we better sort of, talk about another subject in the meantime. And bang, we do the universe card because that's the next in the sequence, not the Magus card, which is also a card of duality. And that's about truth and lies, basically. So, which is a difficult philosophical concept. So this is all really expanding upon the fall at the top, and also the universe is the bottom position between Yesod and Malkut, which we haven't talked about yet, hasn't come into the discussion. It's also Malkut, and it's also the palaces and the daughter, which is the final letter Hey of Yod Hey Vav Hey.
Yes.
What have I left out?
Nothing.
Nothing has been left out. So there we are. We'll actually get on to the more physical attributes, shall we say, of the universe card in the next video. What do you think of that, Bart? A good plan?
Yeah, it's a good plan. Let's talk about nothing again.
Yeah. We'll find something to talk about while we're talking about nothing. See you in the next video.